Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, and this is episode 71 of Azeroth United. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be discussing all of the World of Warcraft news, and I've got a monologue that I have been working on for a little while, and we're just going to go with that, and that'll be the show. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the show and you'd like to help us out a little bit, you could give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Music or Spotify. That really helps out the distribution. Any podcast app that you're using that has a rating system, that would help. But Apple and Spotify is really the best one. So if you are so inclined, we'd be very grateful. If you are looking to do more to help us out, you could consider joining our Patreon. It's patreon.com/AzerothUnited. These are the people who give their IRL money to help us out, help out with the production costs of the show, equipment, things like that. So right now I'd like to take a moment to thank our two friend of the show patrons. That is Judge Omni and Stug Life. Thank you so very much for your patronage and for your help and just for being fans of the show. I really, I think that's kind of cool. So, right. Yeah, that's all the way now. So before I get to the news, I will do a quick rundown of what we got up to last week in World of Warcraft, the game that we're talking about here today. So, World of Warcraft was, we've got the week 2 of the Turbulent Timeways last week. That happened. The more I do Turbulent Timeways, the more I'm convinced that if Blizzard ever does Blood Maw Slag Mines or Grimrail Depot, if they do Grimrail Depot again, or if they do Blood Maw Slag Mines, I've got to give up. They're just so awful. Shadowmoon Burial Ground, Skyreach, Auchindoun, those are all fine. But yeah, it's brutal. So, so I'm doing it on. So I did it on 2 characters to get the hero piece at the end, where you get the chest with the hero item. And then I also I've been working on my Warlock, and I've said before, I hate playing Warlock, but for whatever reason, I am now the proud owner of a level 80 Warlock. Demonology is a lot of fun right now. I don't know if it's really good DPS. I don't know if it's meta or anything like that. I just know I'm having fun. And really, that's what this is all about. And that's what they call foreshadowing kits, because we'll get to that later. But so the Demonology Warlock is now 80. Got the Druid and the Demon Hunter a little bit more gear. Druid's up to 615. I think the Demon Hunter is up to 613. They'll get a little bit more gear before Season 2 starts, and then that'll be fun. So, aside from that, we didn't raid last week, which I think was just a miscommunication from everybody on the raid team. I think everyone else thought, well, we killed Queen last week, so are we raiding tonight? And then nobody showed up, and it was just weird. So we're going to go tonight. I'll probably end up taking my Druid and healing. One of the hunters wants to try tanking, so we'll give that a whirl, see how it goes. Trying to do time walking on the Resto Druid is not a good indication of how fun the Resto Druid is, because time walking in and of itself, it's a fun idea. Like where you go, wow, this is a great idea. I love the idea of time walking, but the reality of time walking is not as much fun. I just don't want to start complaining too much. So yeah, that's basically what I got up to. Playing around with some alts. You get to this point in the season and you start looking at your alt list and you go, well, I could level up this character or that one. I'm gonna start dabbling with the Shadow Priest as well as the Warlock. Again, I don't know if it's meta or the best. I don't really care. I'm out here to have fun. I've been leveling up and gearing up my Fury Warrior every season since Shadowlands Season 4. And this time around, I don't have the interest in it. It's not fun. It's not fun right now. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not having a good time. So that's the criteria I'm going to use for what I play and how I play the game. So anyway, yeah, Shadow Priest is probably next. Okay. So we'll talk about Siren Isle when we get to the news, but yeah, trying to take all these alts over to Siren Isle is kind of annoying. But anyway, that's pretty much the bulk of what I did last week. So I've been, when I get to this point in an expansion cycle, like, hey, we're at the end of season 1 or season 2 or whatever. It's not, hey, we're at the end of the expansion. We're in the middle of the expansion. We got a lot of time to go still. I start to get kind of, I start looking at other stuff. Like, oh, I'm going to play a different game. I'm going to watch some TV shows. So like I've said before, I've been playing a lot of City Skylines. It's really fun. I've been playing Half-Life 2 again. I installed Marvel Rivals because I was going to give that a try, even though I hate games like Overwatch and Valorant. But my I don't know what it was. My computer just had a hiccup or something. It had a hard time. I couldn't launch it. And so I uninstalled it and I was like, I'll deal with it later. This is one of the problems with Steam is that you never know. Is it a Steam problem? Is it a Rivals problem? I don't know what the issue is. So I'll have to play around with that later, but I do want to get in there. That's something that I definitely want to get in and try and get some streams going for that. And then the other thing, obviously, it's WoW, but it's not really WoW. It's Plunderstorm. I had one. I was 6th, and I had 1 kill. So I got to 6th place with 1 kill by just grinding mobs and avoiding people and just dodging the storm. And then somebody came up to me and attacked me, and I had some pretty decent spells at that point. I was level 10, and I was like, all right, let's go. Come on, let's do this. And he just whoosh, wiped me out. I was like, well, that's why I don't PvP, kids. Yeah, so that was fun. But yeah, I've already picked up the Plunderlord set, both of the sets, because I didn't get the Plunderlord set last time because I didn't get my renown high enough. So I got the both Plunderlord sets and some of the other transmog. I'm just going to kind of pick and choose what I want to get. And once I've got it all, I don't know. I mean, I might keep playing. I'm having fun, even though I'm not good. I'm not good at it. I know that, but it's still a lot of fun. So, and they've really made it, I feel like they've kind of buttoned up their shirt on this one. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The other thing that I did this week, and I felt dumb because, I grew up in the 80s. I was a child of the 80s. I loved the Transformers. I loved G.I. Joe and GoBots and all those shows. But I loved Voltron. I had the toys. I had the Lion Voltron, and I had the vehicle Voltron, which is 15 vehicles combined to make a different Voltron. It's Voltron 1. The Lion was Voltron 3. Anyway, that's more Voltron lore than you ever needed. But I was like, you know what? There was a Voltron TV show on Netflix a couple of years back. I'm going to go watch it. Netflix removed it from their library last month. After being on there since 2018, they removed it last month. I was so pissed. I was like, seriously? I was just going to go watch this and you took it off right away. So, yeah, that happened. I was really annoyed. Netflix put it, and here's the problem. There's not even anywhere to watch it now. I guess I could buy it off of like Amazon or YouTube or something, but I don't. So here's the thing. I don't like buying digital copies of things like movies or music from a service. The reason is because that service could at any point decide we are no longer going to provide this movie or this song to you or this album to you because we had a licensing disagreement with the original owner of this. And so you now no longer have access to it. You still own it on that service, but you don't actually own it. And so this is where, boomer me gets to say things like, I miss back when we had physical media, or I could have a CD in my hand and say, I own this copy of Tears for Fears, or I own this copy of Depeche Mode. Can't do that anymore. You have to actually go and download it, or I don't know. It's just weird. So, which is why people are not forced. You're never forced to commit a crime, but people start leaning towards piracy as a way to get their movies and music because there's not a good distribution method for ownership for these things. So anyway, it's just really annoying, and I wish that companies wouldn't do this, but they do. And this is the world that we live in. This is the 21st century, and I have to adapt, and that's fine. I'll adapt. It's annoying. It's dumb. I think it's dumb. You're dumb. Studios and streaming services. So anyway, all right, that's enough of that. We do have a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into it.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so we have the War Within Season 2 dungeon testing is continuing on. We had the 4 War Within dungeons last week, and this week we've got the 3 returning dungeons, Operation Mechagon, Motherlode, and Theater of Pain. Blizzard is starting to, because of what they said, and they're so far trying to stay true to their words, they are trying to reduce the amount of tank busters and problematic trash pulls in some of these older or legacy dungeons. So if you recall, last week we talked about the PC Gamer interview with Ian Hazakostas and how basically Blizzard is like, yeah, we get it. And what you see on the PTR right now, that's not what the final form is going to be, because we made changes based on feedback after we launched the PTR. So anyway, here's what they're saying now. We are continuing to review combat pacing and tank busters in our legacy dungeons, as well as looking to modernize these dungeons where appropriate. I mean, you can't get much more straightforward than that. They're trying. And I know it seems like, oh, it's easy, just do this. It's not easy. It's not, because everything that you do in a game like World of Warcraft could potentially affect 10 other things. So you have to be very careful and very deliberate in how you make changes. So that's what they're doing. And hopefully it works out well. I'm really looking forward to Season 2. I like these dungeons. I like the dungeon pool. I really like Operation Floodgate is really fun. If you haven't tried Operation Floodgate, at the very least, get on to the PTR and try it out with the follower dungeon. Even then, it's a cool dungeon. It's right. It takes place in the Ringing Deeps, right by the that whole flood control area, and it's the waterfall area. It's really fun. I really like it. So anyway, Season 2, very much looking forward to that. In Cataclysm Classic, we're going to jump around here a little bit. The Joyous Journeys buff has returned. So hopefully this is the beginning of the end of the Firelands patch, and we'll hear something about a PTR for Dragon Soul here pretty soon. I'm hoping that Joyous Journeys is something that stays around after the Dragon Soul comes out, because I'd love to get the rest of my characters leveled up for Miss Pandaria, but I don't know. We'll see. The time to strike at Ragnaros the Fire Lord is now, as you prepare for what challenges look ahead in Cataclysm Classic. For all Stalwart champions beginning a new journey or continuing their odyssey in Azeroth, take advantage of the Joyous Journeys experience buff, which increases experience gains by 50% for all players up to level 85. Right. So here's the deal. We have we've got Dragon Soul. That's the last bit of content. So it's Dragon Soul, and there's 3 dungeons in there that come along with it: End Time, Well of Eternity, and it's not Dragon Soul, it's something else. Anyway, so there's the three dungeons and the raid. I'm hoping that we get a good 4 months out of that, and then we get a pre-patch. So if this was my game, I would try and get Dragon Soul, at least get the PTR up this month. And then hopefully we could get something going by the end of February. And then we could get some Mop Classic pre-patch by the end of like June, maybe. That would be awesome. I would be down with that. The sooner we can get to Mop Classic, the better, honestly, because running around. So I was playing my Paladin this morning and I'm running around, and it's like, it sucks because the content in Cataclysm, most of it was pretty good, honestly. The dungeons were good. The raids were good. Even Dragon Soul had its good moments. Everything felt so disjointed. I couldn't go to like, oh, let me go to the capital area. No, you just go into Stormwind and everyone's hanging out in Stormwind, which is cool, but it just feels weird. I don't know. The whole thing just feels weird. And in a lot of ways, it does feel like, it's just like a skeleton crew is there. I mean, there was plenty of people running around, but it didn't feel lively and energetic, which is something that when you log on to either Season of Discovery or the Anniversary Realms, it does feel lively and energetic. And some of that is because they have one server or there's just a small handful of servers for those games, whereas Cataclysm is spread out over multiple servers. I get that, but I don't know. Cataclysm just feels a little off to me, but you know what? That's fine. Get your alts leveled up. We're going to be going to Pandaland, so you'll have the Shrine of the Seven Storms and the Shrine of the Two Moons for Horde and Alliance, and yeah, it'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And then you get to go sit in your garrison for 18 months or however long they make us drag through Warlords of Draenor. I hope it's not that long. I hope we get into Warlords of Draenor. It's like 10 months and we're done. Anyway. That's a topic for another day. Just to be clear, Blizzard has clarified that this experience buff is not available for Modern World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft Classic Era, Season of Discovery, or 20th Anniversary Realms. So go log on to Cataclysm Classic and get your 85% or 50% XP buff up to level 85. All right. Speaking of Season of Discovery, this was fun. Season of Discovery has invaded the 20th Anniversary Realms. So Blizzard added in the Battlegrounds with Phase 2 launch, and they did this last week. So what happened was, because all of these game modes are technically using the same game client, which is the Classic Era client, they all queued into the same battleground together. So somebody forgot to check a box or something and just say, hey, keep this to just anniversary players or whatever. So you had 20th Anniversary Realm players, generic vanilla WoW characters, going up against Season of Discovery geared and spelled out players. Oh man, it was brutal. That's rough. I mean, could you imagine you're going in there and you're like, ooh, I've got my one move and then I can auto attack and you've got people in there who are just, oh man, that's just rude. And their health is higher. I mean, there's just so much going on. Anyway. So on Thursday, Blizzard disabled the Battlegrounds. Just said, oh, nope, that's it. I think they were up for like 30 minutes and then they went, oh crap. So Battlegrounds are gone or disabled. And then on Friday, with maintenance, they fixed it. So they checked the box or whatever needed to be done. It was a 2-hour maintenance, so who knows what they actually had to do. And then on Tuesday, they realized that players used their chrono boons in the battleground at the beginning of the battleground, and so they had all the Season of Discovery world buffs available to them. So the Anniversary Realm players were getting those world buffs from the Season of Discovery players. So they had to disable the Season of Discovery world buffs on Anniversary Realms. What a mess. Oh, jeez. Oh, whoever missed that, I'm telling you, man, that had to be just awful and embarrassing. So, yeah, that happened. I just think it's hilarious. All right. So anyway, Season of Discovery, Phase 7, PTR testing continues on. We've got Naxxramas and the Karazhan Crypts. Still no word on whether or not we're going to get these Tyr's Hand raid. I think that's coming in phase 8. So Season of Discovery will continue on. And then we don't know yet when we're going to be getting phase 3 for 20th Anniversary Realms. That'll be the Blackwing Lair launch, but should be pretty soon. Or at least a word of it should be pretty soon. All right. Whew. There is a new 6-month sub mount. So this is the Timbered Sky Snake for the it's a skywriting mount in World of Warcraft. Apparently it wasn't correctly labeled as a skywriting mount when people tried to use it, and it was just like a regular flying mount or whatever, but it's fixed now. So if you have your 6-month sub, you should already have received a gift that you can open up and receive your Sky Snake mount. If you are playing Cataclysm Classic, you will get the Timbered Air Snakelet pet. So the little scaled down version of that. I like the way that they do that. It's like, hey, we're not going to give you a free mount in Classic, but you can have a pet. That's fine. It's something to clutter up your bags. All right. In Plunderstorm, Blizzard has added in trios. So originally, you could only do solo, duos, and practice. Now they've got a 4th option, which is trios, because I guess people really wanted to do that. So yeah, trios are in with Plunderstorm. And I'll tell you right now, Plunderstorm is so much fun. It is so good. I can't even believe how much I hated it when it first launched. I was so upset when we were forced to do Plunderstorm just to get these transmogs or whatever. It's so much fun. I'm having a blast in it. And it's not something I have to do constantly. I can jump in and go, hey, I feel like doing Plunderstorm right now. Doop, 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 do a little bit of Plunderstorm and out. That's it. Oh, and I got 3,000 plunder, so I can go buy a couple more transmogs. It's really good. It's a good game mode, and it's a good way to keep players engaged. Like I said last week, you don't need, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, you don't need to trick us with time gating stuff, and just give us good content, and we'll stay subscribed. So, but we'll get to that a little bit later as well. All right, the final news item is that flying is now available on the Siren Isle, and the final ring upgrade for Circe's Circlet is now available. So you can get your ring up to 658. You can complete the quest to do flying on the Siren Isle, and you'll get a new toy, which I'm not even sure what it does, but that's not the big thing. The big thing is that it is not warbound. So if you have alts that you've been doing some Siren Isle stuff with, you have to do all of it in order to get them flying. You don't get it because your main got it, which I guess there's a world where that makes sense, but come on, Blizzard. You just spent all this energy giving us warbounds and saying, here, all these things are now warbound. You get this credit because you did a warband. And now the first new content that you add to the game, because we're not counting the 20th anniversary event, is the Siren Isle, and it's not warband accessible. It's just, this is bad. This is a bad look. Blizzard, you gotta do better. This is not how this should be going. So, oh man. So I did do it on one of my alts, and it's not like it's hard. It takes you, if you haven't done anything, if you've got a brand new alt, it might take you an hour to do all the quests, and then you'll be caught up, and that's fine. But I don't know. It's annoying that we're still dealing with this where, oh, you want this on your alt? Sorry, you have to do it on your alt. Anyway, yeah, it's frustrating, but it is available. And if you've been caught up and you just have the last step, it'll take you 5 minutes, and then you're done and you can fly. So, all right. That is all the news for the week. Let's do a quick rundown of this week in World of Warcraft. This is The War Within Season 1, Week 20. The affixes for the week are Voidbound is the Xalatath affix, which is the Void Emissary that spawns in combat and buffs the enemies. So you have to burn down the shield and kill it so you can get the buff for yourself. Any mob that gets buffed takes reduced damage. This buff stacks. Killing the Void Emissary gives players a buff that gives them a 30% cooldown reduction and a 20% increase for versatility. If I can say that. Yeah, so, and this one's getting I'd say it's getting nerfed in season 2. But I don't know for sure if it's a nerf. But anyway, it's getting changed the way that it works. It'll be a cast, and you just have to kill him before the cast goes off. So I think that's better. Anyway, and then the +4 affix is tyrannical. You know it, you hate it, you hate to see it. Tyrannical bosses have 25% more health and deal 15% more damage. So the bosses are going to be a slog, and the trash is going to be too easy. Tyrannical week just sucks. It's just awful. So, all right. The holiday events this week, we have Legion Time Walking. So you're going to get the Sign of the Legion buff, which grants reputations from quests and combat for Legion reputations to be increased by 50%, which is nice if you're trying to get caught up. Don't forget that you can still get your, forgot what they're called. The, when you've maxed out your reputation, you can get the little box. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, you can also pick up the quest A Fell Path Through Time from Archivist Thrune in Dornogal to defeat 5 time walking dungeons, and you will be rewarded with a heroic cache of Nerubian treasure. Also, if you haven't done any time walking yet, this is the last week that you can start doing the achievement to get the Timely Buzzbee mount, because you need to do it 5 times. And this is week 3 out of 7, so this will be your last chance to start it. So if you haven't done that already, you got to do it this week, or you will not be able to get them out. And it's a really cool looking mount, so you definitely want to get it. Not like the last time they gave us a mount that was terrible. Anyway, all right, this is also Delve bonus event, so you'll get the Sign of the Explorer buff, Delver's Journey Progress, Companion Experience, and Undercoins increased by 25%. You'll pick up the quest A Call to Delves from Archivist Thrune in Dornogal to complete 5 delves in Khazalgar, and you will get a cache of Delver Spoils, which is a champion track item. The PvP brawl for the week is Arathi Blizzard. Put away your bathing suit and pull out your parka and enter a winter wonderland as the Arathi Basin you know and love gets fresh coat of ice and snow. Man, I thought I was going to get that. Yeah, so everything's frozen over. You can run across the lake. There's winter weather, so you can't see down from the lumber mill to the blacksmith. So, I don't know, it's fun. It's fine. Go ahead and try it out. If you do, when you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to win a PvP brawl, which will reward you with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. So there you go. And finally, the Call of the Scarab is now available on live servers. It's going to be available till the 23rd. So you might not get it in time if you are listening to this on Thursday, but it is available. I believe it goes through Thursday. Anyway, check it out. Call of the Scarab. It's to commemorate the first ringing of the Scarab Gong on January 23rd, 2006, players will be able to relive a portion of the Ankraj Gate opening by collecting items for turn-in. The winning faction will be able to claim bragging rights and have their faction flag hang over the gates until the next Call of the Scarab micro-holiday event. It's just a fun little thing. In Silithus, I believe you have to change your Silithus zone. Like, yeah, you have to show what it looked like in the past, because there's a giant sword there now. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a sword in Silithus. So if you go to Silithus, right at the entrance when you're coming in from Ungaro, there's a dragon there in human form, and she can change the a bronze dragon, and she can change it to how it used to look. So anyway, that's it for the news this week. A lot of little things going on. Really, the biggest thing to keep an eye on is the season 2 testing that's going on. So we've got raid testing and dungeon testing on the PTR, and the Season of Discovery Phase 7 PTR. So anyway, all right, let's move on to our main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
All right, so this is something that I've been kind of tossing around for a while, and I've wanted to do a monologue on this because it's a question I've seen passed around the internet, on Reddit, on Twitter, on just in lots of different places on the WoW forums. And the question is, why do you play World of Warcraft, or why do we play World of Warcraft? The question can be a personal one, or it can be a question posed to the community for the community. Either way, the question is, why are we still playing this game? So we've been playing WoW since April of 2005. I've told this story before, but a group of people that I worked with, I was on the desktop support team at the company at the time, and a bunch of us all decided to try out this new game. And I have played Warcraft 2, and I hadn't played Warcraft 3 at the time, so I played WoW first, but everybody decided to get in and try it out, and we did, and it was a lot of fun because we would get in there and we would play together. We would get onto a TeamSpeak server. That's how long ago that was, and talk, or we'd just call each other, and then we'd go to work the next day and talk about it. It was a lot of fun. Sending work emails saying, hey, do you want to do a tribute run tonight or whatever? All of those people have since quit playing, and it's really just me that's left from that original group. And it's interesting because they did drop off over the years. It wasn't like everyone just quit playing all at once. Slowly but surely, people slowed down. Some people dropped off in Burning Crusade. Some people dropped off in Cataclysm, Mob, whatever. So here I am playing World of Warcraft, a 20-year-old game. And not just playing it. It's not like when I play Half-Life, and I go, I'm going to play Half-Life 2. I'm going to play Half-Life 2, which is also a 20-year-old game. I can just fire it up and play it and then be done with it. World of Warcraft is different. World of Warcraft, you have to choose to pay for it every month. This is a conscious decision that you are making as a person to say, I'm going to pay for this video game. So why do we continue to pay for it? Why do we continue to play it? Why is it still so popular, even long past its original popularity of 2008, 2009? So, like I said, I've seen this question posed quite often on the internet, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because to me, this is a very fascinating discussion because it hits on so many different aspects of the gamer mentality. Why do gamers play video games in the first place? And that's a question that you could answer that question, and then some of those responses could be, why do you play World of Warcraft? But why is it still so popular? Why is it still a common game? Why isn't this like old school RuneScape or EverQuest 2 that, yeah, people still play it, but just a handful of people are in there? What makes WoW so enduring? Well, first, let's talk about familiarity. Familiarity is different than nostalgia. Familiarity is, let's say you drive across country or across state, and every time you do, you take that route, and you know that along that route there's that one town, the one with the cute diner, and it's got a bar, and there's that one grocery store, or the really big Wendy's that you want to stop at, or the really big In-N-Out burger. So familiarity is knowing that when you take your trip, when you go on that journey, you're going to stop at that town, and it gives you a sense of almost security. It gives you comfort to know, oh, I'm going to stop at that diner. And then once you get to that diner, there's that one waitress that's been there for 35 years. And that poster on the wall that's faded through time for some movie that's been out for 25 years. You order that same menu item. It's a roast beef sandwich, or it's a Caesar salad, or whatever it is, and it hits just right. Maybe it's not the best one in the world, but at that moment, that familiarity gives it extra flavor and extra taste. The jukebox is playing the same old songs, and that's familiarity. It's not nostalgia, because you're there and you're doing it over and over again. And this is part of your routine almost. If you drive through an area often enough, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to stop at that town and I'm going to go to the diner, and that's what we're going to do. That's part of the trip. It actually becomes an aspect of wherever you're going. Nostalgia is different. Nostalgia is, I remember this place when I was a kid, and we stopped there, and it was really cool because they had a giant steel lattice dinosaur out front that I could climb on, and they had really good ice cream cones. That's your nostalgia talking, because you're not going to go to this place and climb on the dinosaur when you're in your 40s. You know, that's not the way that works. Maybe the ice cream was good when you were 8, but it's not going to be any better now. It's just ice cream. So if you're going to try to recreate an experience that you had when you were a kid, or even when you were younger, let's say maybe not 8, maybe it was 18, maybe it was 28. When you first played World of Warcraft, you felt a certain way. And every time you go back to World of Warcraft, you want to recreate that experience. That's why you played Classic in 2019. That's why you're playing 20th Anniversary Realm right now. You want to recreate that experience, but you're not 18 anymore. You're not 14, and you're playing World of Warcraft on your family's computer instead of doing your homework. No, you're playing World of Warcraft after work because you have a job, and you've got kids, and your spouse is wanting you to come watch TV with them. It's a completely different experience. You're never going to feel exactly the same way you did when you were a kid. So that's the nostalgia. And so both of those things, I think, really contribute to people coming back to World of Warcraft again and again and again. It's that familiarity. You know what Azeroth looks like. You know what Azeroth sounds like. You may not know what Azeroth feels like because we can't actually go there. But we know enough about it to feel like it's that familiar place. Or you've been playing other games and you're like, oh man, I love World of Warcraft. I no-lifed that game when I was in middle school so much. It was so much fun. And you go back and maybe it's still fun. Maybe you're still having a good time because it is a fun game, but it's not going to be quite the same. So familiarity, nostalgia. So what else gets you coming back to World of Warcraft? What else besides the emotion? What about the gameplay? Is the gameplay any good? Some people would suggest that World of Warcraft has some of the best competitive dungeon experiences of any game out there, any MMORPG, any game of that type. That World of Warcraft Mythic Plus dungeon system is among the best. And of course, that's a very subjective opinion that some people hold, and it's not necessarily true for everyone. But I think that if you look at it and you say, well, why is it that Blizzard is putting so much energy and attention into Mythic Plus right now? Why is that the focal point of so much of what they are trying to fix about World of Warcraft? Because Blizzard recognizes that it is the best part of WoW at this point. Raiding is still the most prestigious part of WoW. Mythic Raid, nothing comes close. If you have completed Mythic Raid and you did a 15 Mythic Plus, nobody's going to care about your 15. They're going to care about the fact that you got cutting edge. Plain and simple. Obviously, that's a generalization. You can have some people who are like, I hate raiding. I only care if you have arena raiding or whatever. You get the point, though. Raid is the prestige content, but Mythic Plus is the workhorse that really keeps things moving. WoW's gameplay has been described as snappy, responsive, quick, engaging. World of Warcraft is a fun game. It's really fun. When you get into combat and you're pushing your buttons, it feels good. You never have to worry about pushing a button and it not responding the way that you want it to. You know how it's going to go when you push that button. And if you've been playing the game long enough, you know exactly how long it's going to take from the time that you move your finger to push a button to something happening on the screen, it's like a rhythm in your head. And so you go play a different game and that rhythm is off and the game feels sluggish or feels too quick and you can't keep up with it. But it's not that the game is necessarily too fast or too slow. It's that you don't have that rhythm dialed in. So if you were playing that game long enough, you would get used to it and you'd be like, oh, this feels familiar, this feels comfortable, and that's fine. World of Warcraft for a lot of people feels that way. And it's like riding a bicycle. You stopped playing in Warlords of Draenor, you come back in The War Within, guess what? Still feels good, still feels the same. So I think the gameplay has a lot to do with it. The game content, I would say, is something that draws people in for a brief period of time. So I've actually seen this said a lot recently, or heard this said a lot recently by a number of people in the high-end gamer community, or high-end Mythic Plus community and rating, that World of Warcraft is a really fun game until you've done the things that you want to do in it. And once you've done that, then it becomes less fun because now you have nothing else to do. These are people who, they're not playing a bunch of alts. They're not going and doing transmog runs. They're not, oh, I'm going to check out, the new content over it. There's a new quest for the Kirin Tour. And no, that's not, these people they're going in, they're doing the highest level content they can. It's competitive. They're having fun. And then they're done. Then it's over. And then they go play a different game. And then when there's new dungeons in World of Warcraft, then they come back and they play those dungeons. And that's how it goes. So what about WoW's storytelling? World of Warcraft and Blizzard in general have a tremendous amount of lore, both in-game and out of game, that they rely on to tell the stories of their games. World of Warcraft legendarily has some very complicated lore that can be a chore to keep track of sometimes, but a lot of people really enjoy and appreciate the lore. I know for me, lore is one of those things that I experience in game and I like to read about and I'm interested in. I don't really care if it works at every particular moment. So if you say, well, this is a retcon because it blah, blah, who cares? Is it interesting? Yes. Okay. I want to read about it. And especially if it's a change that they've made. Okay, well, then how does that change affect whatever, XYZ? So I think the lore is definitely a big part of it. The storytelling also is a big part of what keeps people coming back to World of Warcraft. Because you say, well, I'm here for the story. Yeah, but and you could be, but that's not going to be the only thing that keeps you coming back. That could be a large part of it. That could be a contributor. But I don't find that WoW's lore and storytelling is compelling enough for me to just play the game for that. If you said, why do you play WoW? And I said, oh, because of the lore and the storytelling. I mean, maybe for some people that could be the case. That doesn't work for me, personally. But aside from that, WoW has some very rich and detailed storytelling. It's got some of the best storytelling that you can get, honestly, in a game. Now, obviously, if it was a single player game, you can have much more engaging and personalized storytelling. I get that. But for a massively multiplayer game, WoW has incredible storytelling. It is so good. It is so well done. And yeah, it's not always consistent. That's okay. Neither is Star Wars or Game of Thrones or whatever, Lord of the Rings even. Whatever media that you want to consume, it's not always going to be consistent. So, all right. Let's talk about some of the, shall we say, negative reasons for playing World of Warcraft. So if you've been playing World of Warcraft for a long time, like I have, some people feel invested in the game. And rather than be driven by familiarity or nostalgia, they're driven by the sunken cost fallacy. It's the idea of, well, I've already put so much time and energy into these characters. I don't want to start a new game. Are you having fun? Because if you're not having fun, then it doesn't matter if you are, if you are 10 characters in or 50 characters in, or just one. It doesn't matter. Are you having fun? That's the key question that needs to be asked. And so I think sometimes we play video games and we do things for negative reasons. It's like watching a TV show that has become bad and you're just not really having a good time, but you keep watching it because you're like, well, I'm invested in these characters, so might as well keep going. You're not enjoying the show anymore. This is why I stopped watching The Walking Dead. As soon as they killed Abraham and Glenn, I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done here. This is it. I'm done. It's over. And I never watched a single episode again. Because I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this show anymore. It was already starting to get a little and turns out it did. It got really weird, and a lot of people really didn't like it after that. So if you're watching a show or you're playing a game and you feel like, well, I'm already invested, I might as well continue on. You're paying money every month to play this game. Don't pay money just because you've already done it. Some people, and I saw this answer a lot, and I think it's tongue in cheek, but it's the internet. So people are playing World of Warcraft because they're bored. They're bored and they need something to do. Now, I can tell you, as somebody who has played other games, there are a lot of other games out there. If you are bored and you want something to do, you don't have to play WoW. Now, if you choose to play WoW, that's fine. Go for it. But there are a lot of games out there that you can play that are not WoW. So just know that there's some other options out there for you to play. So what does all this mean? Where am I getting at with all of this? Because there's a 100 other reasons that I've saw on the internet, on various sources that I could go through and go over. But really, why at the end of the day, why does it matter? Because WoW, here's why. Hold on, let me not speed run through that. Why does it matter? It matters to me because World of Warcraft is a social game at its core. With all respect to the great Dave Gagne and his podcast Solo Queue, WoW is a social game. And if you choose to play it by yourself, that's fine. You can do that. It's a choice. But at its core, it's a social game. It's designed to be played with other people. Down to parties being able to get credit for the same quests at the same time. Doing dungeons, doing delves, you can do in groups. So many aspects of the game are not required to be by yourself, or actually encouraged for you to do it with other people. So much so to the point where if you're playing WoW and you suddenly feel like, or you're playing with a friend and you're in a group together, and then you get a quest where you're separated. You each have your own phase and you have to do it on your own. This is something they did a lot in Shadowlands. It feels really awkward and weird, and it's noticeable. When that happens, it is definitely something is wrong. And that's because the game is a social game, and it is something that we all want to be able to play together and have fun with together. So if more people are playing WoW for good reasons, not because they feel like they have to or because they're bored or whatever the reasons are, if they're playing the game because they're enjoying it and they're having fun, then that's good for the game. It's good for the community. It's good for the developers. It's good for the people who make this game. If suddenly no one's having fun with this game anymore, I suspect that they would stop developing it. They might continue to run it and make money off of the last few thousand subscribers, but they wouldn't really develop it like they are currently. So going back to the original point that I was making about familiarity, if you're playing the game out of familiarity, it's what you know, it's what you're comfortable with, it's your safe space. It's your happy place, whatever that is. I want you to think about the game and changes to the game and why those changes hit so hard for people like that. If somebody is playing for those reasons, and let's go back to that diner in the middle of that town that you drive by when you're driving across state. If suddenly you go to that diner and the jukebox is gone and the menu is completely different, the waitress is quit and she's retired and she's moved on. They don't have your favorite item on the menu anymore. It's now vegan food. I don't know. Maybe you like vegan food. I shouldn't say that. But the point is, when changes happen in the game, people get frustrated because they're looking for that familiar. And so we find the areas that are familiar to us in particular. And that's where our characters come in. And our characters become the through line that keeps us going. I have my characters. I have Denethar, who I've been playing since 2008. And he's always there. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, right now, he'll always be there. Unless they're planning to shut down the WoW servers at some point, I'm expecting Denethar to just live as long as I do. And then maybe he'll just continue on. I don't know. Who knows how that's going to work. I have other characters that I've played on and off throughout time. And some of them I've played since the very beginning of World of Warcraft. Some of them I have just created recently, and now I'm more focused on. I had my paladin, my original paladin, who I started back in 2006. Edmont, the paladin. He was I leveled him up at the end of vanilla and took him into Burning Crusade, and I did a few things here and there, but he was a character that I played on and off. He was never one of my primary characters. It was just somebody that I played here and there, and I kind of pushed him through, but I always leveled him up. I always carried him along. He was always part of the crew. And now that we are in the War Within, I leveled him up in Dragonflight, but I did it almost out of duty, which is a weird thing to say because this is not a real person. This is a fictional character in a video game that I play, that I created, mind you. So if he is going to have any sort of thoughts and feelings, those are going to come from me. But I felt guilty in Dragonflight. I didn't want to level him up, but I did. And I didn't want to play him, but I did. He was my blacksmith, and so I leveled up his blacksmithing. I did it out of obligation, which is really weird. But it was familiar, and it was comfortable, but I didn't want to do it. So when I did Mr. Pandaria Remix last year, and one of the characters I created was a Lightforged Draenei Paladin. And that Paladin, once the remix characters turned into real WoW characters, I went and picked up trade skills. I got blacksmithing, I got mining, and that's now my Paladin because I don't want to play Edmont anymore. And it just, I don't know, it something about it hit me weird, realizing that I'd essentially abandoned a friend, an old friend that I've known for many years. I've known him since my 20s. I'm almost 50. And I've known Edmont. He has a personality. He has a backstory. I know where he's from in Azeroth. He's from Arathi, and he's got parts of his story that I've told in different ways, with interacting with different people, and I've even written some stories about him. So he's now abandoned. He's level 71. He's only level 71 because of the anniversary event. I did some trivia questions on him, but aside from that, I haven't done anything on him. So yeah, that familiarity, it's a double-edged sword. It gives you something comfortable to hold on to, but it also, in a lot of ways, kind of traps you in. It's the same thing with nostalgia. A lot of people went into Classic WoW in 2019 with their heads full of nostalgia, with, oh, I remember running this and doing 3-hour BRD runs. It was great. It was so much fun. And nobody did that because they realized, oh, that's terrible. This is not fun at all. I don't want to do a 3-hour BRD run. I want to do a arena run, or I want to do an emperor run, and that's it. And if it takes more than 20 minutes, I'm going to be irritated. The nostalgia brought us there. But what kept WoW Classic going was the gameplay. WoW Classic is a really good game. It's a really fun game. The content and the gameplay in WoW Classic are good. Now, the gameplay in WoW Classic is not particularly engaging, especially in vanilla, but it is fun. It is fun. It is enjoyable, and a lot of people, I think, feel that way. It's more of a game of collecting and preparation and kind of setting up, whereas modern WoW is more of execution. Did you push your buttons correctly in the exact correct order to do your DPS? Whereas Classic is about, did you get the buffs that you needed? Did you do you have the correct piece of gear? Do you have the correct amount of hit on your gear? These are the things that matter in Classic. That they matter in modern WoW, but not as much. What matters in modern WoW more than anything is, can you push your buttons in the best way possible? So, yeah, I think the nostalgia definitely, it'll bring you to the table, but it won't. You're not going to get a meal out of it. You might get a bite, and that's it. And the rest of it has to come from somewhere else. And the fact that WoW Classic is continuing on, and we're getting ready to hit Mists of Pandaria Classic, is proof that the nostalgia will bring people to the table, but the game itself has to be good. If the game's not good, people aren't going to stay. WoW is a good game. It's a good, fun game. And so now we're getting into the game content, the lore, the storytelling, the quests, the systems, the dungeons, the raids. These are the things that keep people going. From vanilla WoW through, I'd say, honestly, through Cataclysm, it was the raids that kept people interested in World of Warcraft. In Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, you started dabbling with things like challenge modes and mythic dungeons. But that was the transition. And now with Legion, you have Mythic Plus, and that's continued on through down to the War Within. So I definitely see a distinction between raid and dungeon and where that transition happened. But the point is, there's a lot of things to do in World of Warcraft that keep people engaged. So if they're gonna go back to Mists of Pandaria Classic, it has to be for the right reasons. You can't go back to Mists of Pandaria Classic because you want to do Mythic Plus. That's not gonna happen. You can run. They have the heroic plus is what people have called it, dungeons, and those are fun. But really, the reason to go back to Mists of Pandaria is because you want to do those raids, because you want to be part of that storytelling, the lore. The lore in Pandaria is very good, very rich, very engaging storytelling. Especially if you didn't do remix, Mists of Pandaria Classic is going to feel like a lot of fun. And a lot of people didn't do remix because either they didn't see the points, or maybe they were busy with other stuff. So Mists of Pandaria Classic will have a certain type of nostalgia associated with it, and then the gameplay, for better or for worse, is going to keep people held on. And that's why I think in a lot of ways Warlords of Draenor is considered one of the worst expansions, because it was really missing a lot of those components. They did do some rich storytelling, and in Warlords, the questing, it was good, but learning the lore and the backstory of an alternate universe doesn't really. It's like the lore and the storytelling of the Shadowlands. It doesn't really work. I don't understand the point. Why? Who cares? We're not going to be here after this is over, so why do I need to know the lore of this place that I'm not going to come back to? And yeah, okay, so you can kind of say, well, yeah, but it's fun to it's a story regardless, and that's true. But Warlords of Draenor and Shadowlands that's when World of Warcraft went somewhere that didn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything because it's either the land of the dead or an alternate universe that we have no interest in. It's like giving us all the lore and the backstory of the Illuminati in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Who cares? We knew enough to know that it was Reed Richards and Captain Marvel. We don't need to know why and why Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel instead of Carol Danvers. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It was cool and it was fun. So, yeah. All right. The last thing that I will say on this topic is that from a gameplay standpoint, I think World of Warcraft is going to continue on being one of the best and most responsive and it's just an overall good. It feels good to play World of Warcraft, whatever version of WoW you're playing. I think that's going to continue on. But I think that Blizzard has learned that they need to adapt and they need to change things to be more. They need to kind of stay with the times. Now, no one's ever going to accuse Blizzard of being. They're not innovative in any way. Blizzard has a history of taking something and creating something like. A really good example is Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is not the first game of its type. In fact, the first game of its type was a mod that was created for Warcraft 3, Defense of the Ancients. League of Legends came out. There's all sorts of games that happened in the MOBA game sphere. And then Blizzard launched Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is a great game. It's a really well done game. They just didn't have the energy, I think, to follow through with it. But that's what Blizzard has always done. They've created a game that was part of a existing game niche, whether it was real-time strategy or cooperative shooters or MMORPG. These are all games or action RPG. These are all games that game types that Blizzard did not invent, but they perfected. So what is Blizzard going to do to continue to improve and perfect World of Warcraft's gameplay going forward? Well, there's a lot of things that they could do, but what is going to keep people coming back to the game? And that's what Blizzard is going to have to look at. Is there going to be VR? Are we going to get VR World of Warcraft at some point? Maybe at some point in the future, I could see that happening. Could we have World of Warcraft on the console? That could also happen. I mean, people do play it with a controller right now. It's just not, the game itself is not really designed for that, so you have to sacrifice a lot to do that, or some other technology that really hasn't been invented, or maybe it's been invented but not popularized yet. I can see that happening as well. So as Blizzard continues to copy other people's work, I say that tongue-in-cheek because they're not actually copying other people's work. They're taking an idea and they're running with it. You can't copyright an idea necessarily. I guess you can. The idea of having this type of a game is a really hard thing to copyright. So once a game comes out, like we had Fortnite, we had PUBG, we had all these battle royales. Guess what? Plunderstorm. So as long as Blizzard is continuing to watch the gaming landscape and see what is out there, they will continue to adapt their games to that landscape. Hopefully they do that in a good way and something successful, and not in a kind of almost haphazard way like they did with Heroes of the Storm. And I do feel like Heroes of the Storm unfortunately got kind of screwed because it was happening while all of the Activision Blizzard things were really making it not a good place to work, and Blizzard was getting a lot of pressure from Activision to produce results. So the old Blizzard way of it'll be ready when it's ready was no longer an option. It was more of a, hey, we need something now, go. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. So why do we play World of Warcraft? I guess the answer is just as varied and diverse as WoW's player base is. But at the end of the day, I definitely think that familiarity nostalgia and that kind of comfort factor keep us coming back. But they just bring us to the table. The game has to be good in order for us to stay and eat a full meal. So as long as Blizzard continues to make World of Warcraft a good game, it doesn't need to be perfect. We don't need all the classes to be balanced for Mythic Plus. We don't need the currencies to be in the correct amounts the first week. But Blizzard is fixing things. They're going in, they're making changes. And I know I sound like a shill right now, but look, this is the truth. Blizzard is going in and they're making changes. If you are not happy with a game that takes feedback after it's gone live and says, hey, you know what? You guys were right. We're going to fix this. Okay. It's really hard to take the feedback of 300 people on a public test realm and say, oh, this must be what every player wants. But it's a different thing when it goes live and they see the results on social media. So, WoW is in a good spot. I feel like Blizzard is in a good spot for listening to WoW players, and the game will continue to grow and thrive. So, all right, that's going to wrap up our show for today. Like I said, this is a topic that I've been thinking about a lot, and really, I'd love to kind of revisit this in a few months, and have some conversations with some other people on this, because reading responses on Reddit or Twitter, and talking about it myself, it's only going to get me so far. But I really want to understand what it is in the WoW players' psyche that is keeping this game going and making it as popular as it is and it has been. So, all right. Anyway, thank you for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to get on this microphone and talk to you. If you are looking to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter. I am at Denethar, or on Blue Sky. I am at Denethar there as well. You can also check out my YouTube channel. It's Denethar01, or you can check out my Twitch channel, which is also Denethar01. All the links for Azeroth United are going to be in our link tree. That's linktr.ee/Azeroth United, or that will be in the show notes. And we also have all the links available in the Discord server. So if you want to check out the Discord server, you can jump on there as well. So I did want to take a quick moment to shout out to my mother-in-law, Susan, who has tried very hard to be supportive, even though she doesn't know what the heck I'm talking about most of the time. So if you're out there and you're checking this out, hi Mom. Hope you enjoy the video. So, all right. Okay. That'll wrap it up. Thank you again so much. And remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. And maybe they're playing the game because of familiarity and comfort, and you're playing the game because you want to be the highest in arena. Well, that's fine. But you can still be friends, and you can still be kind to them, and just remember to smile and just wave and say, well, you know what? It's okay. We're both playing the same game for different reasons. All right. Take care. I love you all, and we'll see you in Azeroth.